What's up, amigos? Welcome back to the channel. Today I just figured I was gonna make a video about my victory and what it took to get it to 100,000 miles and all the things I have done to it to keep it in running shape and the problems and stuff that go along with owning a victory for 100,000 miles. So, to start, she's got 96 and change on her for miles, 96,000 and change, so she's almost at 100. I bought this in 2015, I think. I traded in a Road King for it. So happy I did that. The Road King was a tractor compared to this. Ended up buying it used with 34,000 miles on it. It was only 10 grand. Like a 2011 8-ball, just pretty much what you see. Didn't have a radio, didn't have anything, added all that stuff. Wasn't really a big fan of the way it looked, but the way it rode was just, I had to have it, and I really only like Visions all blacked out. So I just bought it, never looked back. I've had it, I think, 8 years now. I think right around 8 years. It's never been on a tow truck. No, wait. It did. It was on a trailer last year just for a clutch cable, but that's just the maintenance part. The clutch cable broke at 95,000 miles for the OEM clutch cable. So, the life of this bike. This is the bike that actually got me into really doing long distance traveling and touring. I didn't have that plan when I bought it. I had my Road King and just popped it around. Never really went far on it. This bike's been to Key West once and Daytona twice. Or Key West once and Daytona twice, yeah. Rode it all the way down there. One time I rode down through New York, hitting the highways and the ice. The wind protection on this with the windshield, the factory heated grips. I had heated gear, the lowers to block all the wind. It was snowing at one point 27 degrees and I was cold, but the heated gear and everything else and the wind protection on this bike are just second to none compared to all the other victories. Comfort, it's like sitting in a car. This big backrest, the 8-ball seat has the lower. I did just recently put bars on it for the first time. I've only put about 500 miles on the bike with the new bars. Thanks to a follower, Jimmy. Still owe you a t-shirt. I'm sorry. I love the bars. I'm getting so comfortable with them. They fit me perfectly. I wish I did that a long time ago. I did add a radio to it because it had a little Bluetooth thing in it with 2 speakers. I think the factory system just comes with an iPhone plug and you control the volume on your phone. That's a Rockford Fosgate. I found on the Victory forums, a couple people who did that. I think HMD motorcycle custom stuff, they make stuff for victories. Had a couple pictures and I just did research and wired it up in there, put an amplifier in the saddlebag. It's still not the best stereo because there's no real good speaker box or way to mount speakers to get good sound out of it, just the way the fairing's designed. But it's loud at high speed. I can still hear what it's saying and all the music. I can still hear it pretty clear. Did LED headlight bulbs, not much there. I did a black windshield from Witch Doctors. I powder coated the front wheel. Haven't done the back wheel yet, but next tire I'm gonna powder coat the rear wheel. It's only on its second battery in 96,000 miles, and it's a 2011, so that would make it, I don't even know. Can't count right now. But it's been the most reliable thing I've ever owned. Just did new front forks because I was chasing a problem for the last 20,000 miles on this bike that it felt like it was not tracking right in the road or was pulling to one side, and I'd hit a bump and something would shift and I couldn't find it. I did front wheel bearings. I did stem bearings in this bike about 6 times. That's one thing, the way it's designed through the air intake in the front is it lets water in there if you ride in the rain, and I've probably put easily 10,000 miles in the rain on this bike, and it just kept killing the bearings because the stem inside the air intake just lets water down into the bearings. There's no seal on the bottom bearing, only on the top. But I finally got that fixed, covered everything with grease, so hopefully no water will get in there. Ended up doing new front forks I got used on eBay from Clockworks windshields out of, I think, South Dakota. They were like $200. They had 15,000 miles on them, and they look like they're like brand new. All fresh, powder coated. I have my broken front fender, haven't thrown that back on, but I really don't mind the look without the fender on it. So I'm just gonna run it for now and see what happens. Those are lifted, they're up an inch to the tour shocks because the 8 balls are lowered. And I also did the rear shock because my rear one ended up blowing out on the way back from Daytona, Key West one year. Kept bottoming out on all the bridges, and it just gave up at around, I think that was like 70,000 miles. All right, so we were just talking about the suspension. I did that. The rear around 70,000 miles. The front end has about 500 miles on it. Has new brake pads. Those are the original rotors that have 96K on them, and I'm sure if you just look close kind of in the video, you could see that they're a little worn down and got some pretty good groove in them. So I'm gonna end up putting some Galfers on there in the next couple months and some fresh front brakes. It definitely needs it. They are pretty spongy. So 96,000 miles on the original brake rotors, way past their limit for thickness. About 69,000 miles when Victory announced they were going out of business. It was actually very, very hard day for me. That whole week, I was so upset because I was in love with Victory. I love the reliability, love the comfort, love the power. And I was just waiting for an upgrade on these. Like I was hoping like the next Vision would have nav and all the cool electronics in it, like the Indian had, but they ended up just killing the brand off, and I get it. They can't have competition within their same mothership, so. Been working with Lloyd. Lloyd dyno tuned the last stock motor. It started making like a chirping weird noise in 6th gear. And I couldn't figure out what it was. It could have been the bearing on the end of the front sprocket, but with Victory closing, Lloyd had posted he had, I don't know, a whole truckload of crate motors come in, 2017 crate motors that he bought. So this is one of the last Victory motors to come off the assembly line. Bought it directly from Lloyd. He put his, I believe, the 501 cams in it. Before I picked it up on a crate. I had intentions to leave it in my shed or in the basement just as a someday maybe. And then winter came along and I'm like, I need the power. I might as well just put it in now and be done. So 70,000 miles. This is a fresh motor, so it only has 26K on it right now. They're just absolutely bulletproof, the engines on these. This motor and the last motor probably live at rev limiter maybe a minute to 2 minutes every day I ride the bike, because it's just, I not nice to it. I beat the living crap out of it. This one actually is starting to burn the clutch because it's making a little bit too much power for the stock clutch. It's around 117, 118, and 120 torque. And I'm a big guy and I ride it pretty hard. So definitely getting due for a clutch. Other than that, the powertrain on these bikes is phenomenal. They like to rev. They have good power on the highway, good power down low. Very, very fun for a big bagger. It definitely isn't slow like my last Harley was with the Stage 2 cams, that 97 horsepower. This is making 20 more just with cams. It's their factory pipes that we cut in half, hollowed everything out, and it has a 2-inch hole at the back, and that's all it is for some back pressure and to not make it too loud. It is still really loud. Other than that, we've done a belt, rear wheel bearings last night actually, because I was been fighting that problem with the bike not tracking straight, and we did wheel bearings last night because that was the last bearing I haven't changed on the motorcycle. We did swing arm bushings and bearings last winter, didn't fix it. Forks, front bearings, wheel bearings, everything, hasn't fixed it. I rode it today for the first time, and it honestly feels brand new. The bearing on this side behind the pulley was completely shot when I took it apart last night, and I'm glad I found that. It was just the wheel bearing. I've had so much frustration with this bike for the last 4 years that I haven't really been riding it. And it all comes down to one simple aftermarket wheel bearing that maybe had 30, 40K on it that was completely gone. I really wish I just changed that wheel bearing 4 years ago. I wouldn't have had to keep buying bikes, because this thing's got definitely another 100,000 plus miles in it. It is, check on the forums, people are getting 200,000 miles out of these bikes. They are just bulletproof. Pump. Ended up going with a bunch of aftermarket fuel pumps, and they kept frying. So I finally bought a used Bosch one out of a wrecked bike, put it in, and it's been in there for 15,000 miles, been absolutely zero problems with it. I just really love this motorcycle. It goes down the highway better than anything I've ever ridden. And it's still an American V-twin, sounds cool, looks mean all blacked out. The suspension's great. I will never ever sell this bike. So I've seen a couple people asking to want to sell it in the comments. It's not for sale. I'm being buried with it. Other than that, this is the best, most favorite motorcycle I've ever owned. I'm really attached to it and connected to it. I really love this motorcycle, and some of my favorite memories on it are when we went to, my first big trip on it was going to Washington, D.C. We left one day, it was beautiful. The rest of the 4 days, it rained the entire time. And I still had the best time on this. It was so cool being down there at the Pentagon parking lot with 700,000 plus other motorcycles all there to support our troops that sacrificed for us, and that was just a great trip to be down there with this. It was the first memory I had on a trip with it. Second trip was the year we went to Key West. 3 weeks before we went to Key West, I had this at the top of Route 1 in Maine. And 4 weeks later, we were down at the buoy in Key West. And I lost the saddlebag lid on, I think, this side or the other side. The skin actually came off of it. Almost hit Devin in the face in Pennsylvania on his cross country. But the inside lid stayed on, so I was still able to lock the bike. It still kept all my gear dry. That was just a great trip to be all the way down there, just making memories of that stuff. Bike is amazing on the highway. Being able to see Route 1 buoy, got a piece of key lime pie, and the best part was coming across that 7-mile bridge as the sun set behind us in the back. And I think we got a picture of that. We'll drop it in right here. This bike has just been awesome. I've taken it on so many trips, been into Canada with it just to grab lunch in the pouring rain, again, with no rain gear, but I've learned a lot since then. Get your rain gear, get all your other protective riding gear, and it'll make it a lot more comfortable for when you hit bad weather. Other than that, I'm really excited that this bike is back and running in 100% tip-top condition. She's got some battle scars and scratches because she's old, but I love it, and I'm going to start riding this thing a lot more. I think I got 4,000 to go to hit 100,000. I'm guessing I'll be there by the end of July, hopefully is my goal. Other than that, there's going to be more content coming on this. Thursday, we're going up to Laconia, so be watching out for that video, or if you're up there, hit us up on social media if you want to meet up or something, or we'll be posting where we are. And yeah, that's about it for 100,000 miles on a Victory. Definitely get out there. If you buy one, you get a good deal. Buy a Victory. There's nothing wrong with them. There's still people out there, witch doctors and other places to get parts and salvage yards. They are bomb-proof, and you will love the way they ride. And you'll leave your Harley buddies in the dust on a stock Victory. Other than that, Thanks for watching. Hit that like and subscribe button. Follow along next week for Laconia 2024. That video will be coming out, and ride safe. We'll see you on the next one.